Okay, I've got the open neck swag at the old sewing machine, and if you're just tuning in, please refer back to the first parts about cutting an open neck swag and cutting on the bias, and I got a previous one also about how to scoop out the neck of a regular swag. However, now we are going to sew this open neck swag, and then we're going to go over to the ironing board. We're going to press the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and do the top of it. Just so you can see the whole thing being done. The other thing also is that we cut the swag on the bias, giving the stripe like a candy cane effect on a 45-degree angle. We're almost there. Okay, now we're going to head over. I'm going to show you how to press the bottom and all that good stuff. So come on over. Okay, going to remove the pins. And we're going to remove them at the top. And you notice I haven't sewn the top yet. And it's kind of an important part, not to try to sew both of them at the same time. You can, but it doesn't come out quite as nice. The next thing you want to know, since we sewed, excuse me, around the curve, seeing that this is the bottom, I'm going to put some little snips in it. And this is just to ease up for the sewing, because you're going into a curve like so. So you don't want the fabric bunching. So I like to put some snips in the material. The closer you get to the circle part, the more little snips you want. The farther you go out, it's not as necessary. So you just put little ones in. Keep them a little farther apart. Okay. Next, we're going to flip the swag. And we want to press it on the lining side. And we want to give it a little bit of a lip. We don't want the lining edge to edge. We want to give a little bit of a facing. So it's important to kind of pull the material out the best you can. If you're to not press this with a little facing, what I mean by facing is a little reveal of the fabric on the back side of it. If you don't do that, the lining can do a peekaboo effect on the front, and you don't want that. You don't want to see any of the lining at all. So it's better giving it about 1/8 of an inch lip, going all the way around it. Take your time to kind of pick the lining out, so you're not creasing the lining. You want it nice and flat. get this done, I'll show you what it looks like. If you can't already see, maybe you can. Okay. Now maybe you can see that we have a little lip right on the bottom of it, of the fabric. Right? And that's there so you don't, so if you sew this right edge to edge from the face side of when you're looking at your window, a lot of times you'll see that lining. So you want to make sure you got about 1/8 of an inch of the material on the back side where the lining is, as shown right here. So now, with that being said, the reason why I didn't cut out the top is exactly for that reason. Now, a lot of people, the mistake that they make is that they sew the bottom and they sew the top at the same time. I didn't want to do that. Okay, so there's your top. I didn't want to do it because when you press a lip on the bottom, what do you think happens to that extra lining? It goes up to the top. So for that reason, I didn't want to do that yet. So now is the time that I'm going to cut this out. Then I'm going to flip it back over on the wrong side, pin it, and then sew it in. So that's the purpose of leaving that extra on here. There's no sense in cutting it off until you press that little lip on the bottom. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and trim this. Assuming, which I already have, that my lining is nice and flat on here. I do this a lot, so you know I can tell pretty much so when it is. Okay, there's my top all cut out. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip this back over. Even though I have it pressed. Totally put it back. And then you'll see what happens here. Now I'm going to point something out. Let me get this ironing board off here so you can see it. Now you can see what naturally happened. The lining is about 1/4 inch shorter. Well, maybe not. Maybe 1/8 or so. Let's see. Keeping it flat, you can see where it is. You can see the face fabric is exposed. The lining's down a little bit. That lining's down a little bit because we did put that lip. Now what you're going to do is you're going to force it up here. Back up. And now you're going to stick some pins. And the reason why you did this is because you want your lining taut. You don't want any play in your lining. So this is why a lot of people just sew the bottom, they come to the top, they sew the top. By the time they press the lip in, there's a lot of loose lining. And what do you think happens to that loose lining? It falls down to the bottom and it exposes it and you get a little peekaboo from the front of your lining, which you don't want to have. That's why it's one of these little steps that most people aren't aware of. Of course, I don't know how many people out there do open neck swags, besides myself. Okay. Now we're going to take this back over to the sewing machine. We're going to give this a quick stitch. Come on over. Come on, don't be afraid. Come on over. I don't bite. Okay, let's stitch this baby down. Then we have to go press it again. You can either sew this on the front side or the back side of it. It doesn't really matter. Following the curve. Pulling the lining up to the top. And you place it. You see it peekabooing. Interesting story. When I was back in the day, they used to have home ec in school, and my thread just broke. Don't you hate that? Anyhow, yeah, we used to have a home ec in school, and anytime we were making something, it alternated between cooking classes and sewing classes. And the cooking classes were okay. The sewing classes, though, I mean, I think I knew more about sewing than a lot of the teachers did, even back then. It's just something that came natural to me. Not like nothing like putting thread through a needle. Because, you know, when you get up into your 50s, my God, you can't see the stupid thing. Well, I'll tell you what. This is going to take me a few minutes. So, I think what we'll do is I'm going to shut this off. Alright, finally got the machine re-threaded. It always has me, I'm at the end, I got about 4 inches left and the machine becomes unthreaded. And you know, my eyesight's not what it used to be. It takes me a little while. Anyhow, we're back here, we're back to the lining, we're back to the ironing board. And we're removing the pins because we just sewed across the top of the swag. And we're going to make the same little slices around the top of it that we did previously. Like so. Okay, that's good. Then we're going to turn it and we're going to press it. We're going to get this turned back over onto the face side by pulling it through from the sides. Now previously, we had pressed the bottom. And now we're going to have to press along the top of it. Now along the top, we don't need a little lip of self fabric because you're not going to see this. So just press it. Even with the top is fine. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to repress the whole thing since we flipped it. can see we still have that little lip of self fabric on the back side, which is nice. We have no play in the lining, which we don't want to have. Okay, so we're done with this part. Hopefully you'll join me for the next segment where we cut out all the lining and then we are going to pleat it. So hope to see you in a minute. Thanks for watching.